U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said Wednesday it would be highly unfortunate if Russia rejects a 30-day Washington-backed ceasefire proposal in its war with Ukraine. We'll see what their response is, Rubio told reporters in Ireland. If their response is yes, then we know we've made real progress and there's a real chance of peace. If their response is no, it would be highly unfortunate and make their intentions clear, he said. According to Associated Press, he also urged Russia to end all hostilities. Rubio's comments came after the Trump administration lifted its suspension of military aid and intelligence sharing for Ukraine, and Kyiv signaled it was open to the ceasefire in the war with Russia. The Trump administration's decision marked a sharp shift from only a week ago, when it imposed the suspension in an apparent effort to push Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to enter talks to end the war with invading Russian forces.
We'll have contact with them today. There's already been contacts at different levels with counterparts, different members of the administration, and that'll continue. But as far as the Russian reaction to it, that's really the question here. And that is, this was a few hours old. We're going to bring it to them directly. We're going to say that Ukraine is prepared to stop all battlefield activity and begin the immediate process of negotiating an enduring end to the war. And we'll see what their response is. If their response is yes, then we know we've made real progress and there's a real chance of peace. If their response is no, it would be highly unfortunate and it would make their intentions clear. So that's what we're hoping to hear from them. And I think the first step in all this is the acceptance that there is no military solution to this conflict. Neither side can militarily achieve their maximalist gains, their maximalist goals. Neither side can achieve them through the military side. The only way this conflict can end is through negotiation. That's the only way you're going to have peace, is through negotiation. And so we need to start that process. And it is hard to start a process when people are shooting at each other and people are dying. And so our hope is that we can stop that, all these hostilities, and get to a negotiating table where both sides, over some period of time with a lot of hard work, can find a mutually acceptable outcome that, in the case of Ukraine, obviously secures their long-term prosperity and security. We had a broad conversation about what it would, but I think the bulk of our conversation was what a negotiation process would look like in terms of not the specific conditions, but rather the timing of it, sort of the steps they would like to see taken. The Ukrainians made very clear that this isn't just about ending a war. They need to get their prisoners of war back. They need to get the children back. They'd like to see an exchange of prisoners of war. They'd like to see their children back. So there's all sorts of things tied to the humanitarian assistance is important as well. There are areas of Ukraine that have been badly damaged that require immediate assistance. So these are the sorts of things that we talked about as being inclusive in the negotiation process. What we want to see, like any country in the world, Ukraine wants their long-term security. They want to make sure that this doesn't happen again. We all do. I mean, what is the point of spending all this time to get a ceasefire, hopefully, and then a negotiated end of the war, only to see it re-spark up again in about 6 years, 4 years, 3 years? We're not interested in that, and they certainly aren't either. So I think the question really is more about a deterrence. Can Ukraine create a sufficient deterrent against future aggression, against future attack, against future invasion? Because every country in the world has a right to defend themselves, and no one can dispute that. So that will most certainly have to be part of the conversation. But again, I don't think there isn't a peace to secure until you have a peace. But there's no way to have an enduring peace without the deterrence piece being a part of it.
Hungary on Tuesday said crude oil shipment to the country via Druzhba pipeline has stopped after a Ukrainian drone attack. Due to the drone attack last night, crude shipments had to be suspended on the Druzhba oil pipeline to Hungary, Foreign Minister Peter Szijjártó said in a Facebook video on Tuesday. I have just talked to the Energy Minister of Russia, who told me that due to the attack shipments are not possible now, but works are underway, and if nothing extraordinary happens, then late afternoon or in the early evening crude shipments to Hungary can resume, Szijjártó explained. Hungary uses Druzhba pipeline to transport most of its crude oil imported from Russia through Belarus and Ukraine to Hungary and also Slovakia. Druzhba pipeline, also known as Friendship Pipeline and the Comecon Pipeline, is one of the world's longest oil pipelines and one of the largest oil pipeline networks in the world. The attack on the pipeline comes amid heightened tension in the east of Ukraine and Russia's border Kursk region. It should be noted that Ukraine has been targeting Russia's energy and military infrastructure in response to Moscow's relentless attacks on the country's civilian infrastructure. Ukraine launched drone attacks on 10 Russian regions. This was the largest drone attack ever. On the night of March 11th, the Ukrainian armed forces launched the most massive drone attack on Russian regions, including Moscow. In the Moscow region, one person was killed as a result of falling drone debris. The attack took place on the day of negotiations between Kyiv and the United States. Overnight, air defense forces intercepted and destroyed 337 Ukrainian drones over Russian territory, the defense ministry reported. Of these, 91 drones were shot down over the Moscow region, 126 drones over the Kursk region, 38 drones over the territory of the Bryansk region, 25 drones over the territory of the Belgorod region, 22 drones over the territory of the Ryazan region, 10 drones over the territory of the Kaluga region, 8 drones over the territory of the Lipetsk region, 8 drones over the territory of the Oryol region, 6 drones over the territory of the Voronezh region, 3 drones over the territory of the Nizhny Novgorod region. Moscow Mayor Sergei Sobyanin earlier reported that air defense systems intercepted 74 drones flying toward the capital. He called it the largest drone attack on Moscow. In the Moscow region, 1 person died and 2 were injured when a drone fell. This happened in Domodedovo in the parking lot of the Mirator distribution center. In total, 8 people were injured in the Moscow region, said Governor Andrei Vorobyov. According to Vorobyov, reports of drones came from Kolomna, Zaraysk, Serebryany Prudy, Serpukhov, Ramenskoy, Voskresensk, Lukhovitsy, Bronitsy, Domodedovo, Leninskoy, Podolsk, Elektrostal and Kotelniki. Due to the drone attack, flights have been suspended at Domodedovo, Sheremetyevo, Nukovo and Zhukovsky airports. Restrictions have also been introduced at Strogino Airport in Nizhny Novgorod and Tanoshna Airport in Yaroslavl. The attack took place on the day when negotiations between Ukrainian and U.S. delegations were to take place in Saudi Arabia, the first public contacts between representatives of the two countries after the spat between Presidents Volodymyr Zelensky and Donald Trump in the White House.
Вот он, брать. Вот он, тварь. Вот он летит.
Пенопласт, крылья. Вот он, бля, упал.